There are invisible threads that tie us to the world, strings we rarely see, yet feel every day. They tug at our hearts, shape our moods, and direct our choices. Those threads have a name: expectations. We expect the world to be fair. We expect people to love us back. We expect effort to yield results, honesty to be rewarded, and good intentions to be understood. We expect ourselves to succeed, to improve, to be strong, to not break under pressure. And when those expectations are not met, when life delivers something else entirely, we call it disappointment. Expectations are both the architecture of our hopes and the roots of our suffering. They give direction to our actions, yet they also bind us to outcomes beyond our control. To understand expectations is to understand one of the quietest yet most powerful forces shaping human experience. This is not just a story about life's demands. It is a meditation on how we build invisible prisons with our own thoughts and how we can step out of them into a gentler kind of freedom. Psychologically, expectations are powerful because they shape perception. The brain constantly predicts outcomes based on past experiences. This is called predictive coding. It's how we navigate the world efficiently. When something happens that aligns with our expectations, we feel control and safety. When it doesn't, we experience uncertainty, and the brain interprets uncertainty as threat. That's why unmet expectations trigger such strong emotions: disappointment, anger, frustration. These are not signs of weakness, but of an interrupted pattern. Our brains crave consistency. However, if we learn to tolerate uncertainty, the pain of unmet expectations diminishes. Flexibility rewires the brain to interpret change not as threat, but as possibility. This is why mindfulness and stoicism resonate so deeply in modern psychology. They teach us to separate expectation from identity, to act with intention but release attachment to outcomes. You can plan your day, but you cannot control how the world responds. You can love deeply, but you cannot dictate how others love you. Peace begins the moment you accept that difference. Every philosopher from the Buddha to Viktor Frankl has touched on this truth. Expectation is the seed of suffering. Suffering arises not from what happens to us, but from the distance between reality and what we thought should happen. That we expected permanence and got change, that we expected fairness and got chaos, that we expected love to last and watched it fade. This is the tragedy of human hope. We cling to ideals in a world that constantly shifts. But suffering, though painful, is also the teacher. It shows us where we are holding on too tightly. It reveals the gap between illusion and acceptance. When expectation dissolves, peace emerges. Because peace is not the absence of desire. It's the absence of resistance to what is. Expect nothing might sound wise, but it can easily turn into cynicism, a kind of emotional armor that protects us from disappointment, but also numbs us to joy. Humans need hope. We need to believe that our actions matter, that life can improve, that tomorrow might be kinder. The key is not to kill expectation, but to transform it from demand into intention. Instead of saying, "This must happen," say, "I will give my best and let life do the rest." Instead of expecting happiness, choose gratitude in each moment. Instead of expecting others to change, choose to love them or release them. Hope that is detached from control becomes faith, not necessarily religious faith, but faith in process, in resilience, in the quiet unfolding of life. That kind of hope doesn't bind you. It frees you. Every expectation begins as a form of belief, a mental projection of how things should be. We imagine the world through a lens of predictability. If I do this, that will happen. If I love, I'll be loved. If I try hard, I'll succeed. This framework keeps us sane in a chaotic world. It allows us to plan, to hope, to trust that our actions matter. But it also creates friction, because life, by its very nature, doesn't always follow our imagined script. The moment expectation meets reality, two paths appear: acceptance or resistance. Acceptance allows us to adapt and learn. Resistance makes us suffer. In essence, expectation is not the problem. attachment to it is. When we expect with rigidity, we suffer when the world doesn't comply. When we expect with awareness, knowing that outcomes are uncertain, we are free to act without becoming prisoners of the result. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." To live wisely is not to stop expecting altogether, but to expect lightly, to hope without demanding, to plan without clinging, and to love without entitlement. Underscore expectations are not random. They are learned. From childhood, we are conditioned to equate effort with reward and virtue with fairness. That a child studies hard and expects praise. A parent sacrifices and expects gratitude. A friend gives loyalty and expects honesty in return. Society itself trains us to seek reciprocity, to believe that the world is a fair marketplace where input equals output, but the world is not an exact economy. Life does not always pay in equal coins. Behind every expectation lies a deeper emotional need for love, for safety, for recognition, for meaning. When those needs go unfulfilled, expectations grow heavier. We start expecting others to fill what only we can heal. We project our inner hunger onto people and circumstances, asking them to be more than they can be. That is how relationships break, dreams shatter, and peace disappears, not because the world betrayed us, but because our expectations exceeded its capacity. Love and friendship often carry the heaviest expectations. We expect to be understood without words, supported without asking, forgiven without apology. We expect others to read our pain, match our effort, and never disappoint us. But people are not mind readers, nor are they perfect. They are mirrors, reflecting back both our beauty and our insecurities. The expectation that someone will complete us, always be there, or never change sets us up for heartbreak. People will change. They will forget, falter, and fail. Not because they don't care, but because they are human. True love begins where expectation ends. It's not built on control or constant reassurance, but on acceptance of the other person's freedom, flaws, and evolution. When we stop expecting people to fit our image of them, we begin to love them as they are, not as we imagined. That shift is not coldness. It is maturity. Love that demands nothing endures everything. Perhaps the most relentless expectations are the ones we place on ourselves, that we live under the silent pressure to be strong, successful, calm, confident, productive, to have it all together even when we don't. We compare our behind-the-scenes struggles to other people's highlight reels, and then we wonder why we feel inadequate. We expect perfection from a creature built to be imperfect. This self-imposed pressure becomes a form of quiet cruelty. It drives us to exhaustion, to burnout, to shame when we inevitably fall short. The irony is that most of what we expect from ourselves is borrowed, ideas implanted by culture, family, and social media. We chase definitions of success that were never ours to begin with. True growth begins when we pause and ask, whose expectations am I really trying to meet? If the answer is not your own, if it doesn't align with your truth, then you're running someone else's race. You deserve to rest. You deserve to fail sometimes. You deserve to be human. Fully, messily, beautifully human. We live in an age of hyper-expectation. The world tells us we can be anything, have everything, and achieve it all by 30. Social media amplifies illusion. A constant stream of curated perfection. We see others' victories, but not their exhaustion. Their filtered smiles, but not their silent battles. This breeds comparison, which breeds unrealistic expectations. We begin to measure our worth by metrics that have nothing to do with meaning. Likes, followers, titles, income, aesthetics. That we expect constant happiness and mistake any sadness for failure. We expect productivity at all times and mistake rest for laziness. This culture of endless expectation leaves no room for stillness. But life was never meant to be a competition. It was meant to be an experience, felt, not performed. The antidote to this modern sickness is humility, The grace to accept that being enough is not something to earn, but something to remember. Ambition itself is not the enemy. Expectation is what distorts it. Ambition says, I want to grow. Expectation says, if I don't succeed now, I'm worthless. Ambition drives evolution. Expectation demands perfection. When you detach ambition from ego, work becomes art, something you do because it expresses who you are, not because it validates you. The happiest people are not those who achieve every goal, but those who find meaning in the journey. They understand that success is seasonal, not constant. That failure is not a verdict, but a teacher. Work hard. Dream boldly, but let your expectations be flexible enough to bend with the wind. Family is often where expectation first roots itself. Parents expect children to fulfill dreams they couldn't achieve. Children expect parents to understand them completely. Siblings expect equality. Spouses expect perfection. But family love, like all love, is human. It's flawed, incomplete, messy. It thrives not on perfect understanding, but on forgiveness. When we stop expecting family to meet every emotional need, we start to see them as individuals, with their own wounds, fears, and stories. This doesn't mean accepting abuse or neglect, but means replacing rigid demands with compassion. Sometimes, peace is found not in changing your family, but in changing your expectations of them. Imagine a life where you no longer measured your joy by outcomes, where you gave, not to be thanked, but because giving itself was beautiful, where you worked not to prove worth, but to express potential, where you loved, not to be completed, but to celebrate connection. That is the life beyond expectation. It is not passive resignation. It's active peace. When you live this way, disappointment loses its sting. Success becomes lighter. Every moment becomes enough. You stop waiting for perfect conditions to start living. You realize that happiness was never waiting at the end of expectation. It was always here, beneath the noise of wanting. Practical ways to release expectations. 1. Practice mindful awareness. Notice when your mind says, this should be, and replace it with, this is what it is. 2. Set intentions, not demands. Focus on effort, not outcome. 3. Communicate clearly. Don't expect others to know what you need. Tell them. 4. Detach from control. Life is unpredictable. Learn to flow, not force. 5. Cultivate gratitude. It's hard to feel disappointed when you focus on what already is. 6. Forgive yourself and others. We all fail to meet expectations, sometimes. 7. Simplify. The fewer expectations you carry, the lighter your spirit becomes. Freedom is not having everything go your way. It's being okay even when it doesn't. Every great spiritual tradition speaks against attachment, because attachment and expectation are twins. In Buddhism, suffering arises from craving, wanting life to be other than it is. In Christianity, faith calls for trust in divine will. In Stoicism, virtue lies in controlling the self, not the external. Across all these teachings, the wisdom is the same. Release the illusion of control. When you surrender expectation, you do not lose ambition. You lose anxiety. You do not lose direction. You lose fear. You start living with flow, guided by inner purpose rather than outer outcomes. That is spiritual freedom. Not an escape from life, but a deep harmony with it. Acceptance is not weakness. It is wisdom. It doesn't mean giving up. It means seeing clearly. It's the ability to say, this is what's happening. I may not like it, but I will face it. When you accept, you stop fighting with reality. You redirect that energy toward growth. Acceptance doesn't kill motivation. It purifies it. It transforms effort from desperate striving into peaceful engagement. The person who accepts reality fully is unshakable because they have nothing left to defend. Disappointment, though painful, is not your enemy. It's your guide. Each unmet expectation points to an area of interdependency, something or someone you've given too much power to. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Every heartbreak, every failure, Every letdown refines your understanding of what truly matters. Disappointment humbles the ego and strengthens the spirit. Point one day, you'll look back and realize that what didn't go your way actually saved you from smaller versions of yourself. When you finally release the weight of expectation, life becomes lighter. Not because it changes, but because your grip does. You begin to see beauty in imperfection, meaning in delay, wisdom in uncertainty. You find joy in moments, not milestones. You realize that peace was never at the top of the mountain. It was in the climb itself, in every breath, in every step taken without demand. You become unshakable not by controlling everything, but by trusting that you can handle whatever comes. Expectations will always exist. They are part of being human, but you can choose how tightly to hold them. You can expect but not cling. You can hope but not demand. You can love but not possess. That balance between effort and surrender, between desire and acceptance, is where true peace lives. So, release the script. Let life surprise you. Let people be who they are. Let yourself be enough as you are. Because in the quiet beyond expectation lies something purer than control, freedom. And once you taste it, you'll never wish to return to the noise of demands again.